In this video, I'm going to discuss how to use the Purple Martin Prognosticator to determine when eggs are due to hatch, and then after the nestlings hatch, when they need to be plugged, and then again when they are due to fledge. But first, let's talk about hatch dates. So in this example, I'm going to start with this particular nest, cord 21. So during observations, during nest checks, over the span of a few dates, first there was no nest. Then we noticed a nest being built, and then that next nest check, we noticed one egg had been laid. This is an ideal situation because then you can write the date that the first egg was laid right here. Then in subsequent nest checks, we count the number of eggs until the number of eggs no longer changes. And it's been more than one day since the last egg was laid. Martins usually lay one egg per day. So we know this was the day she started. In this next check, she had 4 eggs. And then in this next check, which was more than one day later, she only had 5 eggs. So that was a 4-day span up here between 5-4 and 5-8. And she had stopped at 5 eggs. So we knew she had a completed clutch of 5, and we knew when her first egg was laid. So we were able to calculate the due date. So what we do is we put 5 eggs on 5-1. So I'll show you how that works. So now we're in May here. We're going to slide this number 5 where it says eggs, and we're going to line it up with 5-1. That's May 1st. And then we're going to see when our eggs are due to hatch. So we've got 5:20, hatching begins. And then, let's say, for instance, later on in the nest check, the egg does actually hatch on 5:20. Later on, when we encounter that hatchling and we age it with our photos, our nestling photos that we have, we can then determine when it's going to need to be plugged, which is going to be 22 days of age, which in this example would be June 11th if it hatches when it's due to hatch. And then when its earliest fledging date is, which is 26 days of age, which would be, in this example, June 15th. Most martins fledge later than that date, but that would be the first safe fledge date. Now we're going to go to another example. This one isn't as ideal, but you can still calculate the dates when you need to look for hatching. So in this first example here, first we had a nest, and then a few days later here, we had 4 eggs that were laid, but we weren't sure when she laid that first egg until we go to the next date, 5-4. Now we've got 5 eggs, and we know that this is a completed clutch now because there's only one number between the 4 and the 5, and it's been more than one day since we did the last check. So we know that her clutch is complete at 5 eggs. So from that point, we can count 4 days back from here. So if you go 4 days back from 5-1, including 5-1, because there was an egg laid on that date, because she was still laying at that point, that gives us a first laid date of 4/28. So we had 5 eggs total laid on 4/28. So we'll come over here to our prognosticator. April 28th, 5 eggs. We're going to line up the 5 and the 4/28. Due on May 17th. So we have 5/17 over here in this box as the due date. Now we're going to go over some examples that aren't quite as ideal, but you can still calculate a range of when that egg is due to hatch. So in this example here, 1 week on 4/21, we found a nest. We came back exactly 7 days later and found 5 eggs. So we don't yet know if she was still laying or if her clutch was complete. So then the next week we wait again and count again, and we still have 5 eggs. So at this point we have the same number. We know that she was done laying at 5. Now we know on 4/21 she didn't have any eggs, but she had 5 by 4/28. So she might have started laying on 4/22, or she might have started laying 4/24. Either way, If she started 4/22 and then she would have stopped at that 5th day, she would have 5 eggs. If she started on 4/24 and stopped with her final egg-laying day on 4/28, then she would have 5 eggs. So those would be your first calculation dates here, as far as when the first egg was laid, and then the resultant calculation for projected hatch date would be 5/11 through 5/13. So you still have a rough estimate of when those eggs are due to hatch in this particular nest.